Alright guys, thank you for clicking on the video today. What we're going to be working on is a little bit of a fabrication project. Actually not a little project, kind of a big one. We are going to be building a hydraulic handbrake to go into my Subaru. So this hydro that I'm building, it's pretty much entirely fabricated. It's not a kit or anything. I'm building it from scratch. You may be thinking, why do you need a hydro in an all-wheel drive car? The main purpose for it is for staging in drag racing. Before, what I would do is I would just, have my foot all the way down in the clutch, foot all the way down in the gas. I would use my stock handbrake to hold the car in the staging beams, and then let the handbrake out as I'm letting the clutch out, and the car would take off. And that worked with the stock turbo because I would build enough boost pressure on the two-step that I would launch good. But now with the big turbo, the two-step doesn't build enough boost for me to do a good launch. It only does like 3 psi and the car kind of falls on its face no matter how much I slip the clutch. So I need to do something else as far as the launch goes. And just in testing, if you've seen my anti-lag launch control-ish video, I'll put a card up here to that. The anti-lag works really good for launching. I can launch on 20 pounds of boost if I want to. Essentially what I need to do to get a good launch at the drag strip is be able to hold the car in the staging beams with a handbrake and also press that button at the same time. So that's the main purpose of this hydro. It's going to have a button on the top that's linked to my IAT wire so that I can use the anti-lag and hold the car still in the staging beams, and then I can let go of it. So let me show you what I got going on. This might be 2 videos because there's a lot of stuff I need to do. So let me show you what we got. First thing you need for a handbrake is something to mount a master cylinder to and a pivot. So this is the base of the handle. I designed this in CAD, but this needs some massaging to get it to work perfectly, so I'll be doing that. Essentially what this is I designed the handbrake so that I can mount the Heim joint that goes to the master cylinder, and I made this so that it's the same dimensions as like a skateboard wheel, so I can use skateboard bearings. See, skateboard bearings drop in there. I could use these as my pivot, and then right here I have it round, so it's a 19mm round, which fits into this carbon fiber tube that I ordered. But it's 19mm inner diameter, which is the same inner diameter as the switch or the button that I'm using, and it's 22mm outer diameter, which is the outer diameter of the switch. And just so happens to work out, if you know anything about bicycles are like 7/8 of an inch, they're handlebars, which is 22mm. So I got some cool mountain bike grips that have a red anodized lock on them, and I got these to put on the handbrake. So I cut a 12 inch tube for the carbon fiber, and then I put one of these mountain bike grips on there, and then the button is going to go right up on top there. So I'm pretty happy with how this looks. I will be sanding this because it doesn't line up perfectly. So I'll be sanding this and I'll paint this to match. It's like that kind of gunmetal color that's in my car. And then I'm also making some mounting tabs for, these are for the handbrake, and then these are for the master cylinder. This is a plate I got from, I believe, Level Ride Concepts or something. I'll also put a link to this down in the description below. But I modified this one a little bit. I had to extend it because this bolts where your shifter goes, so your shifter goes right here, and there's this place where you can weld a bracket to mount a master or a hydro, but it's kind of designed for if you don't have interior, but I want my interior, so it needs to poke out a little bit more past the center console. So I just welded on the piece of steel, so you can see I ground the weld flat, but yeah, you'll see how I welded it. But yeah, so I gotta shape this still. That's where the hydro is mounting to, so these 2 brackets here will weld to that. And then right here is my master cylinder, which is kind of a weird one, not a traditional hydro master cylinder. This is an inline master cylinder, so it has 2 lines going in and 2 lines going out. There's ways that you can do an inline setup that only has a single in and a single out, but you cannot do that with a car that has ABS because you have to connect both brake lines into one, and then tee them back out into 2 after they go through the master cylinder. So this system, it allows you to retain your ABS because the lines are still independent, but when you pull the handbrake, it squeezes both sides at the same time, and it'll lock the wheels. So if you have a car with ABS and you need to do an inline setup, this is ideally the way you want to go. And Subaru also makes, they have a Group N. It's like you can buy it. It's a STI part. It's a hydro, but it's like $2,000 or $3,000. Very expensive. It looks good, but it's very expensive. The whole handle is just one piece of billet aluminum, and then it has a mounting bracket system similar to what I'm doing here. And then the master cylinder is the same design as this one. So this is based off of the Subaru design, but doing it for a lot cheaper. You just look up inline hydro master cylinder. These should pop up. They're like 80 bucks. 80 bucks versus the STI version of this is like 400. So overall, I got like, these are like 20 bucks. The whole tube, I have 3 feet of it. Was 60, so 1 foot is 20. And then this, the aluminum was like 5 bucks, and then my friend cut it out, so it was free to get it cut out. And my friend DJ cut this out. He has a YouTube channel. I'll link it right over here. So overall, we're not in it very much money, and I think that plate was like 30 bucks. So pretty much just slapping this together with almost scrapped. So it should be under, safe to say, probably under $200. All said and done, we'll have a hydro setup for this thing. So let's get started on some of the fabrication parts of this. So I need to get these brackets made, and I marked the center of each hole. First I'm going to drill the holes, and then that'll make it easy to hold on to, and then we'll, once the holes are drilled, we will cut these out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it at the round part, so just make it flat-ish, and then I'm going to weld another piece of 3/16 steel onto there once it's flat, and then I'll be able to cut this to whatever shape I need and however long I need it. So got these to match up well enough, and I kind of V-channeled them so that they weld up better, because it's kind of thick steel. So both sides have like a little V cut into them, and then I'm just going to fill this in with some weld, and then once it's welded together, I'll trim this up and make it the correct shape. This side's a little raised up, but I increased the voltage after that pass, and then we got this one, which laid down a little bit better. So I'm going to use the angle grinder and flap disc, and I'm just going to level these out, make them flat, and then this will be ready to figure out what kind of shape we need to make. If you look at the bottom of the center console right here, you can see these are the 2 holes that mount this, or that bolt this to the chassis. And there's a plate here with some screws in it. So I'm going to take the screws off so that I can take a measurement of these holes and create a plate that will bolt on to here. This is the part that faces up. So the plate that I'm making is going to go down here, and then the tabs for the master cylinder are going to weld to that plate. So I just need to make the plate that I can weld the tabs to, and I need these bolt holes here. So I'm just going to transfer those holes onto this piece of flat stock. Trace these holes out. This is the idea of the bracket we're going to make. I don't know if I'm going to make these a single hole or if I'm going to oblong them, but I'll figure that out in a little bit, but we're gonna drill these holes and then get this bracket cut out. Okay, so we got the hydro plate mounted right there. Very sturdy. It's not even bolted down all the way. And then this plate back here for the master cylinder to mount to. This gives you an idea. We got this much poking out. I'm going to get the tabs put onto the hydro and mark where they sit, where I want it. And then we can line that up with the angle here at the bottom and figure out how long the rod needs to be. I got the plate installed in the car and I did a little test fit with these brackets and the hydro handle, and it's a little too far forward and a little too short for my liking. So what I want to do is I kind of want to lift it up an inch and then pull it towards me a little bit. So I'm going to cut these shapes out right here. So it's just 40 mils, and then it's, you know, halfway over, and it's an inch tall. So it'll raise it up an inch and pull it towards me some more. So I'm gonna cut these out real quick. So I got these tacked up and then I test fit them in the car and they feel good where they're at. So I'm just gonna finish welding these up, grind the welds flat, and then we can start trying to figure out where they need to mount on the plate, and then we'll weld them to that plate. Alright, so there's our welds, looking pretty good. Doesn't really matter what they look like since we're grinding them flat anyways, but we got good penetration on them. So when we grind them flat, I cut some V's in the ends. So there'll still be some weld left after we cut them. So I did a test fit in the car and I marked where I want these brackets to be. So I got it out of the car now and it's ready to weld into place. So the welds are done. Inside ones look pretty good. Outside ones, they're okay. But I'll probably clean these up. I just want it to look nice, so we'll probably get them a little flatter, and then we're gonna paint all this, obviously. So I'm gonna let these cool down, pull this bolt out, and then bend it back. It looks like it got a little bent. All right, so we got the bracket back in here with the hydro mounted up. Now what I'm trying to do is figure out the mounting location for this back one here. So I figured with me sitting in the car in a comfortable position, I want the handle to be like right here. So with it in that position, I just want to follow this line, make sure the heim joints are as straight as possible, and then trace that back here. I need to cut more threads in this rod and shorten it a little bit, but this is kind of where the rear tabs need to be welded, so I made some marks right there. So I'm going to pull this out and start welding on it. So back end is bolted in, everything is looking good, it's all nice and straight. If you look here, you can see it's working. I mean, obviously there's no hydraulic pressure at this point because there's no lines connected to it, but you can see if you watch the master cylinder, when I pull it, both ends squeeze in. So it's working. Feels pretty good sitting here. I'll have my button up top here. Yep, it's coming together pretty nice. I made this piece right here. I 3D printed it, and it is a housing with 2 bolt holes. And I can show you on the inside later so you can see what it looks like. But basically what it does is it holds this micro switch. So this is going to be hooked up to the center diff controller, so that when I pull the handbrake, it disengages the diff. And then you can see there's a hole right here and a hole right here. So the wires that come from the anti-lag button at the top and out the bottom here are going to go through this hole. And then both of those wires and the handbrake wire is going to come out here and into this area where the box is going to sit, like probably right up top here. I mounted this up because it's in the right position, right length and everything. So I mounted this here to see where the bolt holes need to be drilled for this to engage. You can hear that. So I held it up against there, marked the hole down in here, marked the hole, and then I marked around here about where I'm going to trim this because I don't need all this extra metal if it's just here. What I'm going to do now is pull everything out again, drill the holes for this, and tap those holes. And then I need to clean this bracket up a bit, make it round and stuff, because right now it's got some sharp edges. So we'll clean that up, make it look pretty. Clean this up a bit more, make it look pretty. Put some filler in these welds, primer it, sand it a little bit, paint it, and then all this stuff should be done. Should be able to final assemble everything. And then we got to worry about routing brake lines. So I got a new button that's gonna go in here, and the fit is good. It's, you know, it doesn't move around really all that much. It is a little loose, and it just doesn't sit very well. I could make this work and it would work fine, and it works to press the button like this, but I'm going to try and put this end cap on here and drill a hole in there just the correct size for this button to go through. So then the button will go through this end piece, and then the end piece will clip into here, and that will hold this button in there good and tight, and hopefully will create a smoother appearance there. End cap into the button. It's a pretty snug fit, but it still spins a little bit, so probably before final install I'll probably like maybe put some super glue or hot glue or something just to make this kind of one piece. So these these grips, they have these little screws you tighten, and when I tightened that, it actually squeezed this button so it doesn't spin anymore. So that's actually mounted in there really well, and it looks really good. You can see that from a couple angles. I think that looks really good. Oh, that's pretty sturdy. That's pretty sturdy, all right. God damn. Man, a lot less of this shows out than I thought. Okay, so it's all together and I think it looks real nice. I still need to paint this aluminum rod right here, and then also I need to figure out what needs to be trimmed out of this in order to make this assembly fit in there. So that's going to be a whole nother cut and fit process, but it's probably just going to involve cutting a slit in like the top here somewhere, and then that whole like cubby assembly right there is probably going to be a piece missing out of there for this to go. But yeah, so far so good. It's in a good spot too, so like you can see I'm in the seat in my driving position, and when I reach out I can reach the lever with my shoulder still on the seat, which is good because if I have a 4-point harness in here at some point, I'm not going to be able to move my shoulder, and you don't really want to move your shoulder anyways when you're trying to pull a handbrake. So it's in a good spot. It's further out than I would want it to be, like my arm's fully extended to reach it, but I could press the button and I could pull it with good leverage, and I'm not like reaching for it. So as far as like clean mounting goes, I think this is a perfect spot for it. So that's going to be it for part 1 of the Subaru Hydro install. Part 2, we're going to do some final touches on the interior bits, and then we're also going to be doing the plumbing. So stay tuned for that video. If you liked the video, please leave a like down below. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. If you know of somebody who might also like this video, please share that with them. And if you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.